Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking back at the shooting by Columbus police officers of 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant. I spoke in that video about various news media outlets, how they try to spin the facts and, they try to start a narrative rather than reporting the facts. One in particular that I did come across, the Young Turks, a link to their channel will be down in the description, and they're interesting, yet be a bizarre take on this. We're going to talk about that and more coming up next on What's Your Opinion? Just to back up a little bit and kind of give you a context of what I'm talking about. I spoke in previous videos how when it's police involved shootings, how the news media, no matter what their network is, tries to make it about race. They constantly put it in the headlines: black girl, 16-year-old black this, black. The person's ethnicity is always front and center in their headlines. And in this case, even with body cam footage showing that this police shooting was justified under the law and under his department's policy, they still see fit to find fault with it, because no matter what, it's the police fault. We get it. We understand it. I get it. The problem is, people, when you're in the news media, you have a responsibility to, one, report the facts, and two, do your research to find out and know what you're talking about before you spin your own version of what happened over policies and procedures that you know nothing about. Meaning, you're not a police officer. You are not trained. You do not know this department's policies on use of force. But yet you go in there and say what you think. Give them the civilian point of view. And you wind up coming out looking like an idiot. I'll be interrupting quite a bit. So check this out.
A cop in Columbus, Ohio shot and killed a teenager, 16-year-old by the name of Ma'Khia Bryant. And this happened as the country had been celebrating the conviction of Derek Chauvin, a former Minneapolis cop who murdered George Floyd in broad daylight by kneeling on his neck for longer than 9 minutes. Police said that the girl had threatened 2 others with a knife before the shooting, playing segments of body camera video that showed the victim lunging towards someone in a driveway before an officer fired 4 shots. A knife is visible in the driveway next to the girl as police perform CPR. I watched the video. I want to just be clear that we're going based off of what police have released. They haven't released the full video. They've released a portion of the video. And based on what I've seen specifically, that description appears to be correct.
So here we have her using terms that will kind of try to lead your opinion. The cops basically, oh, they didn't show us. We want to see the whole video. They didn't show us the whole video. In actuality, not only did they show you the body cam video, they showed you the high definition version, a clearer version of what happened. But this is what you get. This is only the beginning of what happens when the facts don't match the narrative.
That doesn't mean that you don't have non-lethal options in order to get the situation under control. In this case, the cop, Nicholas Reardon, decided to go for his lethal weapon, a gun, and shot at Bryant 4 times.
Now, I will say, I've heard this and people have said this to me, and my answer is always the same. If you don't know what you're talking about, 1, either shut your mouth, or 2, if you got to open your mouth, ask a question. Don't talk about something like use of force and the department's policies if you don't know what it is. Now, what she said was, why did the cop go to lethal force and instead of using non-lethal force, such as a taser? The police officer is authorized by department policy and by the law to use deadly physical force to protect himself, his partner, or another person that's in imminent danger of death or serious physical injury. If you have eyes and a brain, you can clearly see that this girl was in the stabbing motion, trying to stab two people. And the officer, before he fired his gun, yelled at her, gave her verbal commands, which is along the lines of use of force. But this happened in seconds. Stop, get down, get down, get down. And she proceeded to bring the knife back as in a stabbing motion to stab the girl with the pink. And he fired 4 shots. How is that not understood? I don't get it. I get it. You want people to watch your news and you want ratings and you try to play the room. That's the narrative in the country. The police bad, criminals good. Right. Everybody's into victimhood now. But when you go out of your way to ignore the facts and go in front of a camera and spew this garbage out there to people, misleading people and straight outright lying to people, that's where I got a problem. And that's why I'm going to call them to the carpet. And if they are watching this video, and I don't know if they do, and I don't care if they do, I will say I challenge them to do the research before you go out there and spread this propaganda to people, misleading the public.
Columbus Mayor Andrew Githner says this: we know based on this footage, the officer took action to protect another young girl in our community, but a family is grieving tonight, and this young 15-year-old girl will never be coming home. And Hazel Bryant, who identified herself as the victim's aunt, said that her niece got into the fight with another person at her foster home. Bryant said the victim had a knife but dropped it before the officer shot her. So obviously we're getting a different story from a family member there and a different story from the police. But my takeaway is, even if the cops saw her as a threat to others, why do they have non-lethal weapons if they're not gonna deploy them in these types of situations?
Okay, I am fully convinced that she's just a fucking idiot. If it doesn't fit what you want it to fit, you're just gonna ignore reality. This lady has a serious, serious problem. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You ever heard that saying? If you haven't, look it up. Meaning, you don't bring a less effective method versus against a higher effective method of combat. Why? If this happened within 5 seconds of the officer getting out of the car, why would he use a taser while she's actively stabbing people? It makes no sense. No sense. This girl, in fact, is using deadly physical force. Deadly force, trying to kill 2 people right in front of the cop. And you ask why the cop used deadly physical force by using the gun? I find it personally hard to believe that there is literally this much stupidity in the world. People have got to pull your head out of your ass. I'm not saying that every police shooting is justified, but when you have it on camera and you still saying stupid shit like what she's saying, that's what gets under my skin. I have no tolerance for stupidity. You're wasting everyone's time. You're misleading the public. You're spreading the divide. You're spreading the hate. You're spreading the mistrust. You're just fanning that flame until it just gets out of control.
Yeah. I mean, recently I would say they have them so they can pretend that they were trying to draw them when they actually drew their gun and shot someone. But this time they decided to just skip straight to the gun.
Well, we got dumb, now we got dumber coming up here. What he's referring to is the case where Dante Wright was shot and killed by the police officer who mistakenly used her gun instead of her taser. Right, because that means if that happened there, it's relevant to every single case in where there's a police involved shooting. The insanity continues, man.
Yeah, look, I know that on the right, the video means that they can now just celebrate about this and mock it. Steven Crowder and his group were doing that today. I personally think that something can still be a tragedy, regardless of the fact that she had the knife. We can wonder about bits of context we don't have information on currently, like they say she was in a foster home. Okay, well, we know enough about foster homes to know that there are potentially things that could contribute to that. The fact that he came in the way that he did, He didn't try to do it non-lethally. People attack people with knives in other countries and don't get shot dead. Like, you're capable of disarming them or stopping them. They do that routinely in other places.
So you mean to tell me you think because the video clears the officer that somehow the Columbus Police Department and this officer in particular are celebrating? What's to be celebrated about taking a life? That doesn't make a police officer feel good, a good police officer. It does not make them feel good to take a life. That is a last resort. And whether you want to believe it or not, whomever's watching this, when you pull that trigger and you make that decision and someone loses their life, that sticks with you. You got to go home to your family. You got to go home to your kids and your friends. And when you go to sleep at night, that stays with you. That's not something a police officer should ever take lightly. And if it doesn't bother a police officer, whether the shooting was justified or not, if it does not bother them, then they have no business being in a police officer, being in a uniform. Does not have a business doing that job. Because above all else, uniform, badge, gun, whatever, these are human beings first and foremost. But I get it. The perception is that, oh, once they get their badge and their gun, oh, they're not human anymore. They don't have emotions. They don't react. They don't make mistakes. So the mayor clears it up that no, under the policy, he was protecting the life of 2 other black people, by the way, black people. So whoever says that, oh, this was racist, because I know there are some, because I've heard them on Facebook and I've seen it. This was racist. So let's spin this, if you will. You got a black girl trying to actively stab 2 black people. And you got a bunch of black people standing around not doing a damn thing to stop her. Matter of fact, you had the jackass, I don't know if that's her father or whoever. This guy, the first girl hits the ground, he's standing there kicking the girl in the head. And he's the one asking the cop, are you stupid? That's a kid. That's what this is, the hypocrisy is real. This is what the problem is here. Nobody's guilty of anything. It is completely did a 360 here. Everybody who commits a crime, oh, they're the victim and the bad police is the one that did everything wrong. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But even with the facts, they still find a way to make it as if the cops is wrong. So apparently now, if you're in a group home, oh, well, must be a reason why you're there, right? Oh, so that means you should be able to stab people. We should all feel sorry for her. She was in a group home. And of course, her aunt says, oh, well, she had dropped the knife. Although we all know that even the cop haters know that that's not true, because we clearly have video of her with the knife actively trying to stab 2 people. So that goes to show you right there that when it's a friend or when it's a family member, that's when the hypocrisy kicks in. Now you're going to see what you want to see. Even if you weren't there, you're going to believe what you want to believe, even though you have no facts to back it up. And to me, that is the most egregious, irresponsible thing that you can do as a media personality or as a parent to your children.
You know, and there's a lot, I have a lot of questions about what happened before the cops were called, right? Because Columbus interim police chief Michael Woods said that just after 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, police received a 911 call from someone who reported that women were trying to stab them and then hung up. Dispatchers were unable to gather any information about the weapons or what the weapons were at the scene, he added. So my question is, all right, well, what if Ma'Khia was the one who called the cops and felt that she was in danger? Like, how do the cops know that she wasn't trying to defend herself? Like, I don't know. I have a lot of questions. I don't know the answers to them. Like, I just think it's too early for anyone to judge and place the blame on the person who was gunned down here, and that's a 16-year-old.
Okay, let me sum this up for you. She says, how do we know if Ma'Khia wasn't the one that called the police and was asking for help? Okay, so we're going to use this now. Okay, I know it's new, but we're going to use this now. If I feel fear for my safety and I decide I'm going to pick up the phone and dial 911 and call the police, what logical step would I do? I would remain in my residence until the police knock on the door and then explain the situation and then let them handle it. I'm not going to go out there with a knife going crazy trying to stab two people directly in front of the police. So how is she defending herself? The girl in the pink had no weapon. The one on the floor had no weapon. And she was actively trying to stab them. So that self-defense thing goes out the window. That's BS. And then she said at the end, well, I still have a lot of questions because right now there's not enough information to pass judgment and blame the girl that was gunned down. Wrong again, dum-dum. There is enough reason to blame. She did cause her own death. She caused her own death. She was trying to kill people in front of the police. So the police shot her. That's kind of how it goes. If you expect anything differently, then you're a moron. Why don't we talk about the people who surrounded her? Why nobody tried to stop her? Why nobody said, hey, don't run out there with that knife. The police are here. Let them take care of it. No, we can't have that. Once again, somebody gets shot by the police in the hood. Now, all of a sudden, they've been thrust into sainthood. Now the cops are bad. It doesn't matter. Even if she did call. Let's say she did call. We'll make that argument. If the cop is standing right there and you're the one who called for help, that doesn't give you the right to stab people in front of the cop and think you're not going to get shot. It's that same dumbass mentality is why people are burying their children more and more and more, whether it's unfortunately at the hands of the police or to the streets. That's why. You can't parent your children on excuses and conspiracy theories. You can't teach them accountability. Is that hard? Right from wrong? The ideology now is teach your kids, fuck the police. And unfortunately, when you teach that kind of ideology to your children, this is often the result of it. This is where they wind up. No adult out there did anything to stop her. Instead, after the shooting was done, they called the cops stupid, said she was a kid. Oh, why you had to shoot her? So we're going to just ignore reality here. Why we're going to question why the cop shot her, not as to why she's out there, as they like to use the term, broad daylight, trying to kill two people with a knife. So we're going to pretend like we didn't see that. We're just going to ignore that because, again, like I said in the beginning, it's facts versus the narrative. That fact that I just stated, those questions I would ask that are sensible, we don't want to go into that because that doesn't fit the narrative. Being black does not mean that the world owes you anything. Being black does not mean you're the ultimate victim. When in fact, in this case, she's the perpetrator. Black lives matter. Yes, they do. All lives matter, as far as I'm concerned. But for those people that say, that would have an issue with me saying that, let's say Black Lives Matter. So you had a white officer that shot a black girl, which was justified. How much does Black Lives matter to other black people? Because from my personal experience, I see plenty of black on black crime. Why you don't get upset? Black Lives Matter. When the gang members are running through your neighborhood, having shootouts, kids getting killed by stray bullets. Where's the protest? Where's Reverend Al Sharpton? Where's the Jesse Jacksons? Where's all the Black Lives Matter marches? Where are they when all of that happens? Oh, this was the police? Oh, I smell a check. Oh, let me go over there on TV and make an ass out of myself by making statements before I know all the facts. She says she wants more information. You don't want only information. You don't want more information. You want the narrative to fit your narrative. You want the facts to line up with what you want to feel, what you think it should be. This is nothing fact-based here. There's no impartiality at all. I've had videos where I told, listen, the Dante Wright, I didn't defend the cop. I didn't defend that. That's something that she has to be held accountable for. George Floyd, I didn't defend that because he had to be held accountable for it. And he was tried and convicted. And one person said to the news, whoa, we were just celebrating the conviction of Derek Chauvin. And now this happens. But yet in this one, she says, oh, and the gentleman says, the cop, oh, they're celebrating this now. No, that's what the people said, that they were celebrating, and rightfully so, that Derek Chauvin got convicted. But what cop is celebrating this? You think that cop feels like a winner? If anything, that cop feels more stressed because he went under all this scrutiny from the public. He was convicted in a court of public opinion, not in a court of law. He was guilty. And what he did his job. He did his job. There are cops I know that are more hands-off now. Why? Because if you do your job, you can lose your career. You can lose your pension. Let's say this cop rolls up there and she's stabbing people as she is, because of course she's in a foster home, she's black, and she's a 16-year-old girl. So that means you should stab people. But let's go on that premise. He stands there, he watches while she stabs two people, and one or both of these girls die. Then it's his fault. He's a racist because he stood there and just allowed some black people. If that were white people fighting, he would have not just stood there. But in this case, he had mere seconds to react and make a decision, and he made the right one, by the way. He made the right one. And now it's, oh, if that was a white girl, he would have not shot 4 times. She would have not got shot. He would have tackled her. I'm not tackling somebody who's actively swinging a knife. You think I want to get stabbed? I'm wearing a bulletproof vest. It is not knife proof. I'm not getting stabbed. I'm not getting within arm's length of you. And if anybody else in that situation think that they would do that, you know what? I would tell you, keep watching TV. It's doing you really good. People don't want the facts. People want to hear what they want to hear. They want to believe what they want to believe. Video footage be damned. No one cares. It's only a tool to criticize. Oh, well, we looked at it now. Oh, all right. Well, she did have a knife. When you just spent hours and hours and hours telling everybody how, oh, she didn't have a knife. He just shot her. But now, all of a sudden, oh, so now that you got caught there, you've seen the video and you can't criticize him. So now you'll find another way. Now the popular one I hear now is, well, if that was little Becky, or if that was a little white girl, he wouldn't have shot. How do you know that? Talking out of your ass again. You don't know that. I've said this in a previous video. There's nothing wrong with scrutiny when it comes to police-involved shootings, but you take them on a case-by-case basis. No two are alike. There are different factors. I mean, from the people involved, from the officers involved, their mentality, what they saw, the perpetrators, what was done. There's so many factors. That's why investigations are done. Because it's never just simple as 1, 2, 3. But how do I explain that to the simple-minded? I don't know. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss a video, and I'll see you on the next episode of What's Your Opinion?